All right, man. So, a lot of craziness while we were gone has gone on with not in the entertainment sports industry, but just in life in general. And so, one of those issues or one of those situations was this Carlee Russell situation
Mm-hmm.
where
For sure.
she said that she was kidnapped and taken against her will, and she was taken into the woods, and just a lot, taken into the woods stripped naked and all that stuff, and then she walked home from where she was, and now we are here to she's potentially being charged with filing false reports and all that good stuff. Sticks, what's going on with this situation, man? What's your thoughts on it?
So, oh man, so Carlee Russell, man, she she filed a false report talking about she saw a baby on the side of the highway in Alabama, and she called the police and stirred up this whole national I'm gonna call it a problem. It stirred up this whole thing across the nation about her being kidnapped, taken against her will, possibly being to be sex trafficked, and she was taken by an older white man, and it was a woman with him, and they was feeding the snacks and yada yada yada. Come to find out, Carlee Russell was setting this whole thing up way before she called that 911 and filed that report about the child on the highway. So she was looking up things about the movie Taken, trying to figure out if how to steal from the register of her job, how long it takes for Amber Alerts to go through. Do you have to pay for Amber Alerts? Like, she was Googling things to set this up on her phone and on her work computer. Not to mention, she went to the crackers that the Cheez-Its that the lady was supposed to be feeding her in this car, and in the back of this 18-wheeler, this semi truck, was actually purchased by her at Target. She went to Target and purchased these things before she even made the 911 call. So she was setting this whole thing up. There's a theory around this whole story, is that she was trying to get back at an ex-boyfriend, because she actually sent the ex-boyfriend a text message talking about, I hope you're happy whenever you see Carlee's guts splattered across the highway. Just trying to get back at this young man. Sent it from an anonymous number, of course. She had another cell phone or something like that. So my thing about it is she caused this whole national ruckus filing this report. And the problem that I have with it is the people who actually went through this in real life. Not just a story that was made up in her brain, this fantasy story that she was using as revenge on her ex-boyfriend, allegedly. But people who actually had family members actually kidnapped and sex trafficked and things of that nature, because that's not something that you play with. It's not something that you play with, because people actually go through these things. There's actually a something that's going on in the world that people are trying to stop from happening, and you playing around with it is not a good look. So she's like D'Lo said, she's facing charges for falsely reporting an incident and false reporting to a law enforcement. Those both can face up to 2 years to a year each in prison. So she's looking at 18 to 24 months in prison for this. But what I want to know is my thing that I want to know is, I want to know her side of the story. Like, what made you do this? And where did you come up with this at? And like, is there some kind of mental health thing going on here? Like, what is the issue? Because if it is some kind of mental health, okay, hopefully she gets the help that she needs. I do believe that she should face some kind of punishment for this. I'm not going to say she needs 2 years in prison, but at the same time, she does need to she needs to be held accountable for her actions. But she also needs to seek the help that she needs as well, because mental health is a real thing too. So although she did play with something that's a real thing, she also, if it is mental health, that's also a real thing too. She needs to get the help that she needs. But it's a weird story, man, because she just did all this for what, bro? Like, I want to know why you did it, Shorty. Like, that's what I want to know. That's my thing. What you think?
I so I'm just gonna say it. I am growing tired of every situation that happens nowadays. Is do they have a mental illness?
Attributed to
Do I
mental
mean,
health. Got you.
right? You know what I mean? Like I said this whenever we talked about mental illness with who was it that we were talking about? It was one
With
of the
Twitch
athletes.
with
No, it wasn't Twitch.
um um
It wasn't
um
John Wall.
you talking about
It
AD?
was
Or talking about AB?
AB. It
AB,
was either
yeah,
AB or
Antonio
somebody.
Brown.
Yeah, it
Antonio
was
Brown,
AB
yeah.
or somebody. And I said,
Hmm.
it's going. What we're going to start seeing is every time somebody does something that they don't want to
Hmm.
take accountability for it, it's going to be mental illness. Oh, I got this problem. I got this problem. I mean, if they do have mental illness, okay, yeah, we need to get them the help that they need. But I mean, statistically speaking, this many people having mental illnesses is not the thing. Like statistically speaking, about 25 to 30% of the population has a mental illness, and that is a big percentage, and it is growing. But everybody that does something or everybody that does wrong is not mentally ill. They just were impulsive and wanted to do whatever they wanted to do. Now, going to your question, how did she come up with this with this scenario? What made her do it? Man, you watch TV, you watch movies all the time. You can come up and make these scenarios up for trying to do something, trying to achieve something, trying to get the attention that you want. Um, it's just, will you go through with it or not? And she decided to go through with it. Um, I I think unlike you, who does not think she needs to serve 2 years, I think a strong message needs to be sent.
Agreed.
Just like I've said about the gambling, which we'll talk about as well. I think a strong message needs to be sent because if everybody continues to do this, or if more people start doing stuff like this for whatever reason, if it's attention, whether if it's to get back at somebody, whatever the case is, and it's not a strong message isn't delivered, you're going to see this all the time now. Oh, I can
Hmm.
get this amount of attention. My face can be all over the news nationally and maybe even internationally, and I don't get in that much trouble for it. Yeah, we live in a sick world, bro. So people
We
will
do.
try to do stuff just because of the type of notoriety that it'll get them. And if they don't get in any trouble, then they're definitely going to do it. I mean, think about, I don't know if you've been seeing it or not, but I think it's been in California and in New York where people are just robbing the place because they won't have any immediate action happen to them. I don't know if you've seen that, but people, it's been a lot of
Yeah.
looting and robbery going on in businesses in, I believe, California, because it's been told that they don't need to have anything done to them. And it just continues spreading all over now because they've realized, oh, I can get out of there without anybody actually doing anything to me, or I can may be able to get away with it more easily than I would in another place.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a strong message needs to be sent. If it's not 2 years, if she only gets a year and a half or a year, I think it definitely needs, she needs to serve some type of time
Hmm.
for all of this commotion that she's brought upon herself in Alabama or wherever she was. Where's that?
National. It ain't just Alabama,
Yeah.
but it was a national commotion, bro. It was people
Yeah.
all over the nation that was advocating for this girl. But I do agree that that strong message needs to be sent. Whenever I said I don't think she needs to do 2 years, I didn't say she didn't need to do any time. But I think there's a difference between mental illness and mental health
What's the
because,
difference?
well,
It's the same thing to me.
with it being an illness, you are diagnosed with something, right? That's the way I think about it. An illness means you're diagnosed like bipolar or ADHD or something of that nature.
Okay.
Mental health
Hmm.
can be just you suffering from some kind of stress because that could be like a depression or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like going
Okay.
through a
Good point.
going through a trying time. You see what I'm saying? And if she felt depressed or she felt stressed out about this ex boyfriend situation, allegedly, then that could be enough to push her to do something stupid like this, right? But
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 but but what's up?
I just want to stop you real quick because yeah, the way that you explained it, there's a clear difference. But when people say they have mental health issues, they're not talking about, and typically they're not talking about the usual stresses of life, or a slight notch above the usual stresses of life. They're
Hmm.
trying to say they have whatever those clinical diagnoses are that
Hmm.
made them do all of this, not just the depressions and the stresses, the ebbs and flows of life that we go through.
Hmm. Okay. Well, I can see that, and I can see that. I can see the media and social media and people around the world saying that, trying to justify what she did. I can see that.
Mm.
But I think whenever I think about mental health and mental illness, there's a stark difference between the two to me, and
Yeah.
I could see how, just given my situation, right? I've been stressed out over the past few months. You know what I'm saying, and I ain't gonna go to the extent of this, but I could feel a slight change in my demeanor because of the situation that I have been in and the way it was affecting my mental health. I'm not nowhere close to bipolar. I'm not nowhere close to ADHD. I'm not nowhere close to these clinical titles that they give people. Nowhere close, but I can feel a little bit of depression. I can feel a little bit of a change in my demeanor. So if that's what they mean by mental health issues, then cool. But she's not bipolar. She's not schizophrenic. She's not all of these different things. She just made a bad decision. And not to mention, after she did the shit and went back home and got out the hospital, she went and had a birthday party in Atlanta. So she ain't hurting by nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like she
Yeah.
just made a mistake, put on a fucking show, and went and had her birthday, came back home and turned herself in. And she
Right.
stirred up all this ruckus for literally no reason. But the
Right.
problem is that she used something that actual people are battling with every single day, and that's what needs to be made an example of, because that's not something you play with. That's what I think.
There's a couple of things that she used as, used uh, to her advantage. One of them was what you mentioned, or we're thinking that's what she's using, or probably will use, is the mental health challenges. The other one
Mm-hmm.
is the fact that when I don't want to be racy, but we're gonna have to go down this path. Is when uh, a black woman is kidnapped or whatever, it doesn't usually get this type of national attention as it would be someone of another race. And so now, if now that we know that it wasn't real, will it cause for the a black woman that is kidnapped, or a black girl that is actually kidnapped, to be placed on the back burner until it's far too late, rather than
Mm-hmm.
it being put out there immediately, just like hers was, because we need to try to find this individual as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the issue that I was talking about, is things like this happen every single day. And if you're crying wolf and this is a fake story, it's gonna make it seem like the next person is also crying wolf. And these things are gonna be taken less seriously the more people cry wolf. So that's the biggest issue at hand, is that people get sex trafficked and kidnapped every day. And there's people looking for people still to this day that's been gone for years. And now you're playing with that. And that's the issue, is like, people in the future are going to be seen as they're lying. Like,
Mhm.
is this a real story? Did this really happen? Is this another Carlee Russell? Like, that's going to be a meme going forward now.
Jesse how you say his name? Jesse
Smollett.
Smollett.
Yeah,
Yeah.
him. The same thing. People thought he got his ass whooped. He really ain't getting nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
he actually faked it. He had paid some people to beat him up. So
Tell
like,
the
you
truth,
can't
Jesse.
just facts. Smollier, Jesse Smollier. But it's just, you just gotta understand some of the, like, to what's common sense to some people just don't be common sense to some other people,
Common
man. To
sense
me,
ain't
it's just
common anymore.
common sense ain't common no more, man. Common sense ain't common because people can use AI to make whatever the hell, they ain't gotta have no sense. People ain't gotta have no sense. Period. But I
Well,
mean, hopefully, if there is a sentence to her, hopefully she understands the ramifications of her actions, and hopefully everything will be, people moving forward won't have the Carlee Russell effect happen to them, and it people thinking, dang, that's gonna be crazy. If it's a Carlee Russell effect that happens, that's gonna be wild. But I hope
mhm.
it doesn't happen, because this is actually a real thing. But we shall see how it goes moving forward, man. Thank you for watching this video. If you made it this far, there's a video on the screen right here. Go ahead and click on that. I think you're gonna love it. Also, you can find us on all your streaming platforms, wherever you find your podcasts.